And we're already, they just have to go around. We already have a problem because we've added these extra things and we're running late, and I have a little bell, which I will ring and I will be brutal, but I'll start by sticking a little note here that says 3 minutes and 1 minute. But we really need to keep on track. So with that, here's Ryan. Stand on the dot. Eat the microphone.
Yeah, just to keep us on track, I'm going to be really, really quick. I'm Ryan Kaiser. I'm with ResearchSoc, now OmniSoc. I'm the CISO for the academic research fleet. So if you have cybersecurity issues, come to me. Other than that, we have set up a demo table out there that has 2 systems that you'll see on it. This is a little testing environment that you can all go and connect into and play with. It's a capture the flag exercise. So if you're interested in trying to do the kinds of things that people do whenever they're compromising systems and digging around for data in other people's systems, this is a great way to get to have that experience from the other side. So that's what we've done there. And we also have set up a pair of honeypots in there. These are systems that emulate vulnerable services and then record what's happening on them. And one of the displays there will show what has been done if you go around and start poking it. So just want to let you know, you can just go and go around and play with that and talk with Mike Simpson.
Say what CISO is.
CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. Sorry, acronym overload.
This one? Yep.
Oh my gosh. PowerPoint this morning is just like, no.
Bullet.
There we go.
You can't just click the big button. You have to click the middle of the big button.
Mackenzie. Hey.
Here, stand on the dot. Eat the microphone.
All right.
Hello, I'm Mackenzie Smith. I am the newest marine technician for LUMCON. We have a pretty small team, but we do have 2 boats, and we will be getting the Mason hopefully soon. Myself and Grace Bolton are the current sea time techs, and then we have Alex Wren. As you can see, we've had quite a bit of cruises so far this year where we're very busy. But yeah, that's it.
Stand on the dot. Eat the microphone.
Just a minute.
No, just stand.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Christian Kernisan. I'm the tech aboard the WHOI Sharp, part of the University of Delaware. Our regional class ship, our range of work is from Nova Scotia down to the Bahamas, within 200 miles offshore. So some of the people that I would like to show you up here is our director, John Swallow, and then followed by our tech coordinator, Tim Deering, myself, the senior tech, Christian, and on the bottom here, our newest tech is Hunter Tipton, and unfortunately he could not be here with us today. Let's see. Some of our instrumentation that we have on the ship is a CTD powered by 911 Plus. We're looking to get a 24 bottle rosette in addition to our 12 bottle rosette. Let's see, we have a retractable keel that houses 4 transducers. We typically have multi-beam. We have ADCP, 600 and a 300 kilohertz. Let's see, we have a Knudsen that has a dual channel as well, 3.5 and a 200 kilohertz system. And let's see, and so the ship is relatively about just under 150 feet. We have a crew of 7 that goes out at a time, and then it can sleep up to like 22 people. And it's a pleasure seeing all of you guys during this conference, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. All right, thank you.
All right, there's the sticker.
Good morning, everyone. You're probably saying, well, this isn't Phil White, and you would be right. Phil has since retired. Same height. No, actually, I think I might be just a little shorter, if you can believe it. I've got heels on. But yes, Phil has since retired, if you remember RVTEC last year. And he is now lovingly referred to as the spirit animal of the technicians at NOAA. So I am Katie Watkinz-Brandt, and I have just taken on the role of the environmental data acquisition manager at NOAA. So I'm really happy to fill that role and be a part of that community, but I will also always be a part of the UNOLS community as well. I wanted to take a moment and just recognize some of the technicians who are here at RVTEC. If you guys could stand up so everybody can see your wonderful faces, that would be great. We have Alicia. Yeah. Woo. Thank you. We have Alicia with the Lasker and Benjamin with the Foster, Heather, who's in the relief pool, Jacqueline or Jackie, who's with the Lasker, Colin in the relief pool, and Christina on the Rainier. So if you see them around, and have a conversation with them, get to know them. I am just getting to know them myself because I just started this position last week, but they are incredible so far. And then of course we have the list of all of the other technicians within the NOAA fleet. So that's all I want to do, just take a moment to recognize them and introduce them to you. And it's really great to see all of you in person and be able to interact finally. It's been wonderful. So that's all we got.
Don, could you come down here and tell us all about what NOAA's doing?
Okay. We're so close. We're almost there. Screen, share presentation. Woohoo! Oh my goodness.
You need to double click on that one. Oh, there we go. Stand on the dot.
On the dot.
Eat the
Okay.
microphone.
Eat the microphone.
That's right. And hit enter to move forward in the slides.
Morning, everybody. Don Jones with NOAA's Office of Marine Aviation Operations, stationed in Newport, Oregon, where I work as the lead, emerging technologies lead for marine operations. So I'll give you a quick overview of what NOAA's been up to over the last year plus since we've met together. And so here we go. So on the aircraft side, we took delivery of a new King Air aircraft in late 2021. They took the first part of the year to outfit it for science operations and actually started flying missions by mid-year. So that was good news for AOC. Another big event for them during Hurricane Ian, one of the P3s actually deployed the first UAV from the P3. So the P3 was flying, doing some wall penetrations a little bit higher up, but the UAV was able to fly down as low as 1,000 feet and start collecting data at the lower elevations of the hurricane. And very exciting news for them. The data set that UAV collected was phenomenal, and everybody was really excited about it. So kudos to them. And they've also taken delivery from Gulfstream of a new G550. It is not in operation yet. It's got about a year's worth of upgrades and science equipment installations, do all the airworthiness tests, and it will probably start flying missions by hurricane season 2024. So that's on the aircraft side. For ships, we have awarded a contract to Thomas C. Constructors for 2 Class A ships. Basically, they're clones of the Sally Ride and Neil Armstrong with minor modifications for NOAA's specific needs. The NOAA ship Oceanographer keel was laid in June. It's about 60% steel cut. They've got 3 modules under construction. We expect delivery in mid-2024 and then ready for operations probably by mid-2025. NOAA ship Discoverer, the keel was just laid last week. So it's about 6 months behind Oceanographer in its construction progress. We expect it to be delivered in early 2025, ready for missions in early 2026. Our Class Bs, we have received proposals for, the Class B is our hydrographic survey ship replacement program, specifically for Rainier and Fairweather, but it could be, a couple other ships could be added as options. So the RFP, we received proposals. Those proposals are being evaluated as we speak. And we are, we expect to have that award finalized by probably early in 2023. Uncrewed systems. Yeah, here we go. Uncrewed systems. So Captain Phil Hall, who is the director of that UXS Operations Center, is retiring on the 1st of December. So Captain Bill Mowat will be taking over in his stead. And we expect, they've been working together for a long time. So really no change in their philosophies or anything like that. So we expect to have that operations center up and running. We're staffing up as we speak. So hopefully that facility will be up and running hopefully by the end of next year. For our UXS initiatives, we actually purchased a DRIX USV. That was our big focus for this year. We accepted delivery in July at UNH. Thank you to UNH for their collaboration and working with us to help us accept and test and certify all the systems on DRIX. We then moved it from New Hampshire over to Lake Erie, where it operated from NOAA Ship Thomas Jefferson for about a month in September. And the first couple of weeks were integration and crew training, getting used to operating an autonomous vehicle from the ship. And then the last 2 weeks in September, we actually did production survey work with the DRIX in Lake Erie. Huge success. The only anomaly we found was a 20 centimeter offset between the DRIX data collected and the ship data collected. We don't know where that is yet, but other than that 20 centimeter offset, everything worked flawlessly. So we're really excited about its capability for hydrographic survey operations. Another initiative that we're trying to do with DRIX is fisheries acoustic surveys. So this coming summer, we are trying to get it outfitted and ready to work off of NOAA Ship Oscar Dyson for a summer pollock survey. And so that's going to be a challenge for us, but we're looking forward to the opportunity to, and if a DRIX or an autonomous vehicle can help us with acoustic surveys, both hydrographic and fisheries, we see great efficiency gains by utilizing these vehicles. VSAT and Starlink. So last year we expended quite a bit of effort and dollars, and we got our contract upgraded to support a 7 megabit connection as our standard across the NOAA fleet. 2 megabit downlink, 2 megabit uplink, 5 megabit downlink. Ron Brown, because of her special operations and circumstances, we upped her bandwidth to 3 megabits uplink, 10 megabits downlink. And the fleet has been very excited about that. We had really good feedback from the crews on the amount of service that they've received. So we'll continue to do that. Starlink, we have actually purchased 12 maritime systems. We're piloting across the fleet. So we have 9 ships that we're targeting for this first go around. 3 of those ships will be a dual antenna system. 6 ships will be a single antenna system. We have those systems actually at Newport, and we've started farming them out. We have a system installed on Ron Brown right now. We have a system installed on Fairweather right now, and a system installed on Shimada right now. And we are going to use this coming field season to start collecting performance metrics and just to see how good the Starlink service is and how it compares to what's being advertised by Starlink. We intend to outfit the entire fleet for next field season. So we've made another purchase request for 3 more systems this CR period. And hopefully after January 1st, we'll be able to purchase the remaining 3 systems and we'll outfit the rest of our fleet. Facilities, we have a new pier going in Charleston. UXS Ops Center will move to the Senator Wicker building in early 24. And we are upgrading our Ketchikan port facility with a new building, a new warehouse, and a new pier to support Fairweather. And for cybersecurity, we're working with ABS to get all of our vessels ready to meet the new ABS cybersecurity requirements. They're doing gap analysis for us and helping us determine how we can mitigate vulnerabilities that are found. And then we have an aging network infrastructure on our ships, so we're working to get that upgraded as well. And I will be happy to take any questions either now or during the rest of the week. Yes, ma'am.
I think you skipped the part. I think you skipped the part of the slide that talked about the Ron Brown, and I wasn't looking at it. Could you go back to that?
Oh, yes, that was our fleet recapitalization program. So the Ron Brown will go into midlife in July. She'll be offline for about a year. We expect her to be back online probably by September, October next year. But it's a major midlife refit, very, very similar to what was done on the 3 other ships of her class. And the other midlife refit effort that we have is for our FSV class, the Dyson class FSVs. We're starting to plan midlife upgrades for those 5 ships beginning in 2025. Hopefully we'll finish by 2031, 2032-ish, but we're targeting the 5-year dry dock cycles for those midlife upgrades. Yes, sir.
You mentioned you're working with ABS. Do you have cybersecurity staff specifically who are assigned to work on that?
No, we do have cybersecurity folks in our Marine and Aviation Cyber Center. We have a couple of those folks that are sitting in on some of the ABS meetings, but it really is, it's ABS. They've hired cybersecurity folks and we're using them and their expertise to help us analyze and assess and help guide us in our gap analysis.
Cool. Yeah. We should talk later, but I'm going to ask you to put me into this.
Okay, cool.
In the back.
Yes.
The Starlinks, I'm just curious, are they going to be used for quality of life, for ship's crew, or operations, or what?
E, all the above.
Can you repeat the question?
The question was, will Starlink be used for science only, for crew morale, or for everything? And the answer is E, all the above. We're hoping it'll support all of those requirements. All right, thank you very much.
Mhm. Josh's remote presentation. I don't know if we have, okay.
So Josh is remotely at risk. No, we're okay. So Josh Eaton is going to be doing a remote presentation, which Randy is setting up. See his cameras.
All right. Hey, Josh, which of these accounts do you want to share your screen? Or do you want me to share the screen? Oh, I need to unmute you, don't I?
I should probably mute this one.
Oops, this one.
We don't want feedback.
There we go. Do you want to share from your screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
We can hear you
Oh, great.
very well.
Great. I'll try not to be yelling. Is my screen up?
Almost.
Where did the make it bigger go? Here we go. Now you are. Yay.
All right, great. So I was hoping to be present to present this year. Unfortunately, I have to be remote with my remote. I know, very punny, sorry. So I'll see if I can get this down to 15 minutes, Jules. I'll do my best. The winch pool is consisting of the same 3 people that we have been. Brian Guest, manager. Jamie Haley takes care of the system maintenance, and myself, I do engineering and other fun technical bits. Our biggest mission is, of course, supporting science. This was a use on the ice of one of our winch in Antarctica. A few of our assets, we have a new interocean winch. This is actually our design. And it is a trace metal winch that'll be headed down to the Savannah. And we've named it JJ. We have two McCartney MASH 2000 winches named Mo and Larry, two MASH 4000 winches, Curly and Shemp, two Dynacon with cantilever drums, Donnie and Marie. We have Gloria, which is a 322 Hobalt winch. We have the trace metal winch Monk, which is part of the GeoTraces program. We have Joe out of Delaware, which is a multi-purpose winch, followed by Godzilla, which is our large, I guess it's the next generation mooring winch. And we still have two TSE mooring spoolers, Cletus and Cooter, followed up by Jed, our small CMAC, which we're hopefully in the process of replacing. The biggest thing is that we have our newest winch. This is using the design that Jamie and I came up with. And for Rose and Jim, we made sure that we put this on here for you guys. We thought you'd like that. We added in this step, this operator platform. And when we requested a cup holder, Interocean really went above and beyond. It's actually gimbaled. And when we mounted it, we also made it multi-purpose. It also holds the pin for the flagging sheave for shipping purposes. We also have some other assets, a whole bunch of sheaves. We have our tensioners, including Barney. And our normal set of assets hasn't really changed. If you need something, ask us because we might have it. As far as our utilization goes, COVID hit us pretty hard, but we're still getting requests and we're still going pretty well. It still feels really busy, even with fewer requests coming in. Remember, you can fill out the request form to ask for one of our assets. Some issues that we've had over the past year with Godzilla, we had a motor wobble issue, and you can actually see the motor shake. Hobalt has since taken care of that. I think I missed a couple of things on that slide. The motor was loose. They originally delivered it with open loop control, which wasn't very good for slow speed, but that's since been remedied. And there were some issues with the braking resistors. Next up is Gloria. And I have to say that this one has also been taken care of. And we noticed that we were missing some screws inside the drum, and the drum had actually shifted over. We recently had that repaired. So projects that we've been working on, we have our universal remote, which is in a smaller enclosure. It has a smaller tether, which makes it easier to handle. And it even adds new features to our old winches. And the display has a trending graph. And some of the new features that have been added are auto haul, so you can set in the target depth, auto toyo, so you can set in the top depth and the bottom depth, and an auto spool mode. There's also an enabling switch. That means you don't have to hold the joystick down the whole time. This says proved to be quite popular with the crews that have used it. I believe the Endeavor really likes it. We're also designing up a winch mounting system. This is to go on to the Palmer. They're looking to use 2 of our winches and up on the helipad where they can't weld and they don't really have a good bolt down pattern. We're looking at a way to help them get 2 winches up top. We also have our software. We have a winch combine and parse. This looks at our log files and makes it easier to sort through, and it pulls out our maximum tensions and our maximum payout and logs them as cast. It's not that accurate because I'm sorting it based on depth and payout. So if someone's doing toyos, we'll get a whole lot of the same cast. But it seems to work reasonably well. And we also have some winch monitoring software that connects to our winches and can output that data in a trending graph. It can send it out via UDP or via a serial string, and it creates that same winch log, winch max log that the last software did as well. And you can just click a button and it will log that particular cast. So we've helped acquire a trace metal system for skidaway. That was JJ, the white winch that you saw previously. We're looking at doing an ultralight duty replacement winch, possibly a 681 portable winch. We have been seeing a little bit of demand for that. I've been helping the Atlantic Explorer with a Dash 4 replacement, and we developed a spec for the new Odyssey winch. Some other upcoming projects are a next generation level wind, a heave sensor winch test platform, so we can do dynamic testing of the winches on site. And I think that's about it. I don't think that took too long. So I think we can celebrate. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
Great, all right. Okay, any questions from the audience for Josh? Yes, there are 2 in the back. Ethan.
Josh, with the hobble winch, the drum that shifted, any thoughts on how those fasteners came out?
Josh, did you hear that? He wants to know if you have any ideas about how the fasteners came out on that drum that shifted on the Hubble winch, whose name I forget.
So that was Gloria.
All right.
We're not sure how the fasteners came out. We're thinking that the motor wobbled a little bit and that walked the fasteners out.
Okay, I saw another hand. Looks like Lance.
Wondering if you had any updates on the procurement of hydrostatic wire cutters?
Hydrostatic wire cutters. Do you have any thoughts on procurement of hydrostatic wire cutters?
I sure do. We'll be talking about that in my my next session. We can discuss that further. I do have significant amount of thoughts, and I will be purchasing. I will have some for purchase hopefully soon.
Josh's next session, FYI, is a breakout this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
Breakout at 3 p.m. Josh's next session is a breakout at 3 p.m. Any other questions for Josh? We're doing, you guys are great. We're doing really well this time. I have one quick question, Josh. Have you considered using Sesame Street characters for your shivs? Ernie,
You know-
Bert, Snuffleupagus, Miss Piggy, there's a lot of them.
That might not be a bad idea. I'll have to talk to the guys.
Okay. Rick, ready.
Thank you, Josh. We're gonna move on with the next presentation, which will give me 30 seconds. Take a breath.
Sing the Jeopardy theme song this time.
There we go. There we go. No, yep. Where are the controls? The controls disappear every time I share the slideshow. Bigger. There we go. Share screen. This. Whoops. Ha! Got it.
Go ahead and hit the next. Rick, it's on yours, okay.
So just hit the arrow key.
Stand on the dot, eat the microphone and enter to take you forward. Hit the enter.
Enter. Okay. Okay, Aaron Davis, West Coast Winch Pool operated by Scripps Institution of Oceanography. No worries. For those of you that aren't familiar with the winch pools, we exist to provide an inventory of winches and other equipment, so you don't have to buy them and maintain them and whatnot. Keep them in good repair. We try to listen to the community for what requests we're getting and modify our inventory to make sure we're meeting your needs. And we provide technical support of all sorts. And how it works is NSF funds us almost exclusively. Customers that could be you guys or the science party or the vessel operators contact us and let us know what sort of science that they need to take care of. And then we try to match them up with a piece of equipment that we have available. If it's NSF funded work, then that generally costs nothing to the user. If it's other institutions or organizations, and we ask them to chip in by paying rent to cover the cost of the maintenance and whatnot. We have a bunch of stuff, but I'm just gonna give you the big stuff. So we have these light duty winches. They're similar to like a little CMAC winch, if you're familiar with those. They hold about 3,000 meters of 322 cable to give you an idea of the size. We have these mooring spoolers, these TSE spoolers, which a lot of people tend to use. We're slowly trying to replace these with another winch with a little bit more pull. That's hopefully a little bit more durable and involving a lot less maintenance. And that would be this thing that we're replacing it with. Hopefully, the hobble mooring winch. It has a little bit more pull. It pulls 10,000 pounds and has the same line holding capacity as the TSE spooler. But due to some newly enacted regulations, purchasing another one might be interesting, but we're working on that. We also have this mooring capstan. It's a Libus capstan that's also used for moorings. If you deal with moorings, you're probably familiar with it. This is our only piece of equipment that has assigned primarily for a certain type of work. It's mainly for OOI work, but others can use it but they'll have to work around the OOI schedule. And then we have this heavy duty winch. It's a big Dynacon winch that holds 10,000 meters of 681 cable. But we could also spool 9/16 wire rope or 9/16 synthetic on it as necessary. It's a pretty big system. Okay. So what have we been up to? As I said before, we're trying to replace our TSE spoolers with another proper winch. We did have, as Josh mentioned, this has been a multi-year process. We've been developing essentially, working out the kinks. in the last year, we put an encoder on the drum motor. Before, Josh mentioned it used the open loop feedback. The motor drive, I had some software that deduced what position the motor was in and you know, energized the coils in the motor appropriately. But it turns out it didn't really work that great at low speed. And we had an overload situation where it dropped an ROV on the deck of a ship, unfortunately. So, but we got that fixed. Yeah, like I said, we put a encoder on the drum motor, and we added some fail safes to the motor brake. That's another thing that didn't occur in that incident. The brake was never set, thus the dropping. So now we have all sorts of different ways that the brake is engaged if things aren't working properly. And it has a braking resistor. And what that does is if you're lowering something into the water, the motor ends up being like a generator, and you have to dissipate that energy somehow. So it has a resistor that just gets rid of all the electrical energy. And the one that was on it was insufficiently waterproof. So we replaced that with one that was. We're wrapping up an RFP for a second one of these. And I'm not really going to comment on what the result of that was just yet, but we're working on it. As I said before, purchasing a new winch is going to be interesting because of the Buy America, Build America, Buy American, I think I said that right, Act. A lot of these companies are multinational companies making things from parts all over the place, and what constitutes an American winch is kind of, in my mind, kind of fuzzy. But we'll get through that. We'll figure out a way to get some more of these winches somehow. Oh yes, and then we did this past couple of years. We've been this light duty winch, this Hobble light duty winch has a cooling fan, and that's my fault. I wanted it to be entirely self-contained, not requiring any cooling water or anything. But when the cooling fan energizes, people notice. It's super loud. So it was actually 92 decibels. Somebody's Apple phone said, "Caution, you know, your hearing's being damaged," or something to that effect. And so after that incident, we looked into ways to quieting it down. So the picture on your right shows the winch fitted with this new silencer that we designed. It makes it look a bit like an elephant. I kind of like to get a big googly eye and stick it on there. But
Or a UNOLS sticker.
or a you know, and I have a giant like sticker I could stick on that. Good idea. I had a big NSF sticker I have never known what to do with, but now I do. At any rate, it worked. I had to go inside the machinery compartment and stick sound absorbing foam everywhere, but it was 92 decibels and now it's 72, which is acceptable. So this won't be frightening people anymore. As far as engineering projects, Roger Revell's gotten a lot of love this year. We put a new turning sheave in the middle of its new starboard crane, and that's so that the trawl winch on the ship can, the starboard crane can be used as a handling device in conjunction with the trawl winch. It was delivered with a sheave for that purpose, but it looked kind of like a toy. It had the chief engineer kind of concerned. So we replaced it with something a bit more beefy. And oh yeah, I just got through buying 2 portable cranes for Roger Revell so that they can move things around on the deck a little bit more easy. Apparently using the ship's cranes to do that's a bit clumsy and not always possible. What else is important? Well, the very, very bottom thing is very important. I bought a lot of spare parts. Some of you guys may have noticed that anything could be a long lead time part in this day. So you could lose a switch, fuse, just something silly could have you hung up for 6 months waiting for a spare part. So last year I asked for an awful lot of money to just go through and buy one of everything for all our winches, which has actually been quite a task, just purchasing that much stuff. But I'm working on it. I got a full complement of spare parts for our light duty winches, the mooring winches next, and then our marquee spooling gear, which I forgot to mention until now. But I'm working on that so that hopefully nobody gets hung up for the lack of a spare part. That said, if you guys borrow one of our winches, it's gonna come with a suitcase or two of spares, and I ask you to please don't lose those, because these little suitcases have $100,000 worth of stuff and 6 months worth of work in them. And if they get lost, it's gonna really make me sad. So that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
With regards to your engineering project, you guys are available for the fleets, right?
That is correct.
And, yeah,
Can you
I
repeat her
wanted to make
question?
Everyone aware of that they are available. If you have engineering projects that they have information about, don't be afraid to reach out to them.
Right, it was just pointed out for those online that both Josh and I, our services are available to anybody in our community, should you need some engineering help. Just give us a call. Yes, sir.
What about schooling services? Have you been doing a lot of that?
What about spooling services? I'm glad you asked that question. Like I just pointed out, I forgot to mention our marquee tensioning spooler. We have a completely portable rig that could be shipped anywhere in the world to spool wire rope and cable and stuff on the ships, off the ships. Rick Trask is working, well, I'll let him comment on that, but he's working to offer some of those services too. And how it's going is we have some regular customers, one of which is our ships. We're spooling stuff on and off our ships, of course, all the time. And then in addition to that, the University of Alaska, Oregon State use our services annually for the most part. And Thomas G. Thompson. So yes, we're usually lately we've been extremely busy doing spooling work. Yes, sir.
This is kind of a comment. Trying, talking to PIs about trying to get away from the TSC spooler to the mooring winch. They seem very reluctant. I don't know if you've encountered that on other ships, so I don't know the answer to that, but it seems like there needs to be some way to communicate with them to make them feel comfortable about keeping that.
Repeat the question.
Okay, the comment was that it's been noticed that there's a lot of PIs and other folks that are reluctant to step away from the TSC spoolers and go to another winch. And we do know that. First of all, we're not on a mission to kill all TSC spoolers. There's some work that we prefer them not to be used for, especially for deploying moorings anchor first and pulling mooring anchors off the ocean floor, because quite frankly, they're not very robust. There's certain situations, although probably unlikely, they can actually damage themselves under their own power. But there's a lot of work that they could be used safely for, pretty much most of it. So we're not getting rid of them by any means. I think maybe a while back I may have implied that or even said that. But what we're going to try to do is buy enough of the mooring winches to where we have options. And as long as we can keep those spoolers alive, which is becoming increasingly difficult, then we're going to have a few of them on hand. I mean, we have 5. So I don't imagine we're going to have no spoolers for quite some time. But one of the things that makes those things so great is anybody can walk up to them and just fool with it a little bit and know how to operate it. There's 2 levers and they're dead simple. The engineers on board the ship can figure them out pretty quickly too. They're mechanically fairly simple. And that's not necessarily the case with the modern winches. Not everybody knows what to do with all those drives and whatnot. So does that answer your concern? Okay.
I think there was one more question. Yeah, Lance.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious if you have best practices for both product of grease for each of the wires that ships operate with, and devices or procedures for doing it more often than annually or biannually.
Okay, so the question was, do we have best practices or recommended products and procedures for lubricating wire ropes and cables more often than annually? I think that's probably an answer, something best for Rick to answer, maybe during his turn.
Mhm.
I will say that if you're going to lubricate the wire rope or the cable very frequently, obviously the winch pool is not going to be doing it like monthly or weekly or anything. Pretty much the only solution available is to have an inline system installed on the vessels. Is that sufficient?
Yeah.
Okay. There you are.
Excellent. Wow. I'm sorry, I called you Rick. But we're looking forward to Rick's talk after the break. Huh? Okay, so we're running ahead, and it would be logical to have Rick give his talk right now, since this is all about wires, and then take the break, or we could take the break now as scheduled, so that when people come back, Rick is at the time that they would expect for the online people.
For online folks.
Yeah, is there any objection, and that could include Rick, is there any objection to having Rick speak now prior to taking the break?
Let's do it.
Well, that's true. It'll take. All right, sure, Rick, if you're willing, can you come up and give your talk now? With apologies to the people online who aren't here yet, who were going to tune in for it.
Chances they take.
And we take. So stand on the dot.
Yes, ma'am.
And eat the mic. And enter will take you to the next slide.
Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing.
You can just say next slide, I'll hit it. Say next slide.
Okay, well, good morning. I'm Rick Trask, and I am joined by my two colleagues, Barbara Callahan and Andrea Harvey. And together we're going to talk a little bit about the wire pool and the services that we provide. I thought it was important that you get to see some face. Thank you. I thought it was important that you see the people that you're dealing with about the database or break tests, and so that's why we're all here today. We're going to be here until Friday, so if you have any questions, please stop us. We will do our best to answer your questions. If we don't have good answers, we will find out something for you, or we'll either tell you something anyway, just to make up something. What did you say? Enter? Enter. Okay. No. I'll hit it again.
This way. No?
That's the enter I was touching. Okay, I'm going to start off talking about the inventory and the distribution of tension members. And then Barbara's going to talk about brake tests. And then Andrea is going to follow up with the discussion about the database. If you have any questions, particularly the hard ones, please wait till the end and ask Andrea. Got it.
There you go.
Okay. So the purchasing and maintaining of an inventory of wire rope and tension members has been the oldest function of the wire pool. We have been, or I'm not my personally, but this has been going on since 1982. So actually this year we're 40, the wire pool is 40 years old. And it was realized early on that purchasing in quantity was cost effective, and also keeping an inventory was helped reduce the time it takes to get a wire or tension member to a vessel. And that's particularly true, for the most part, particularly true now with the supply chain issues. It can take half a year or more to get a delivery of an ordered cable. So I want to make something clear, that unlike the winch pools, where there is an East Coast winch pool and a West Coast winch pool, there is only one wire pool. What sometimes confuses people is that we have two storage locations, one on the West Coast at the Scripps Marine facility, and the other is at Woods Hole Oceanographic, at the Oceanographic. So we have 2 storage locations. And in each of these storage locations, we maintain, or we try to maintain, a complement of the commonly used tension members, which you can see on the screen. I'm not going to go through them. You're familiar with them, I hope. So at this point, I want to go on to, what do you need to do to get hold of one of these tension members, which we have in storage on both coasts? And all requests should come through the wire pool manager, which is me. And what I do is I ask that you either send me an email with your request with a lot of details, or you can do it through the database, which Andrea will talk about. It's important, you have to realize that a request should not just be, the RV Oceanus needs a reel of 322. We need to get a convincing argument why the existing tension members are no longer able to do what you need them to do. So what I do is I take those requests, I put them together in a package. I include some information about our inventory, what we have available, what the impact might be on our inventory at the various locations, put it all together. And I might add a comment. I'll be honest with you. I might add a comment how good a stewards you are with previously distributed assets. And I send that off to NSF for their consideration. And there is a grueling review of your request. NSF looks at these all different directions. And then eventually, if we're lucky, I get a response back in a timely way. And at that point, I will, depending on what the answer is it approved or not? But if it's approved, then we make the shipping arrangements to get those tension members out to you from the most convenient storage location to what is appropriate domestic port for your vessels. So now we've talked about the tension members, where they are, how they got to you. And so I'm going to pass the baton now to Barbara, and she's going to talk about brake tests.
Thank you.
Microphone and stuff on the dot.
There you go.
And in your order.
Hi there. As Rick said, I'm Barbara Callahan, and I'm here to talk about breaking wire, which I absolutely love to do. I've been working in the wire pool for the last 12 years, and we're hosted by the Woods Hole Oceanographic, brand new location at the David Center in their Quissit campus. So we're not on the dock anymore, but we have a great.
Not yet. Okay. When you do hit. Just click that.
No, we'll just keep going. So we're located at the David Center. So why do we test wire? Well, the first thing I'll say is that it is mandated by Appendix A. And we also test wire just to find out what the breaking strength is. If there's a problem at sea, sometimes we'll be testing the wire to find out more information about that. Before a wire has been distributed to a vessel, we'll test that. We also test wire that you may not have, or the wire pool has not purchased. No cost to you. We are funded to test wire, and that's what we do. So all you simply have to do is send a brake test request in the database, and then do a brake test request in the database, and then send us a sample, 7-meter sample, and we'll put that into the queue and test it for you. Let's see, I want to just talk about this picture right here, and this is my baby. It's a tensile machine, one of two that we have. The reason I'm showing you this is that it's unique and it has two rams. So one can go up to 10,000 pounds and the other can go up to 150,000 pounds. So we have, some good options there. Okay. Next, I want to talk to you a little bit about the wire that we test. First off is the 322, and we terminate that very similar to how you do it. We use the birdcage method with the stainless steel termination. With a 1/4 inch down at the bottom on the left, 1/4 inch 3x19, we use a swage and a press because we know we can get the manufacturer's breaking strength on that. Up at the top on the right, the 9x16, 3x19, 9/16 3x19. We broom that out. We will broom it out, clean it really well, pull it into a socket, and then pour a 2-part epoxy. Same thing with the 680 and 681, just a lot bigger because that's obviously a very big cable. So we test all the wire. The other thing that we want to let you know is that we are very happy to announce that we have some more help. Ellen Rusin from the Woods Oceanographic has been helping us out, and she's learning all of the wire testing techniques. And so she's been a great help, and she's here this week. So please make sure you say hello to her. Okay, so after we have tested the wire on a pull test, we want to test the wires individually. So to do that, we will separate each wire, unwind it, and test it. For the cables, the 680, for the 322, I went back, I'm sorry, I went to the wrong one. Let me go back. There we go. No, not started. Where is my manual and e-cable? Yep, there you go, sorry. So for the cables, the 322, 680, and 681 cable, we unwind that, we perform an eking test. And each layer is unwound. We take each piece of wire, cross it over each other, form a cursive E, and if it doesn't break, it's past the eking test. For the 3x19 wire rope, we perform a mandrel wrap test. And this one you see right in that picture, it's very similar to what the manufacturer uses, and they use that to test their wire. So to use the mandrel wrap, we unwind the wire, wrap it around an index 6 times, unwind it, and if it doesn't break, it's past the mandrel test. Both of these tests are very important, and they tell us what the percentage of the total cross-sectional area that's failed in that test. So it's important information, and we will load that into the database along with the pull test. The last off is just evaluations and recommendations. After we've done all this testing on your wire, we want to look at everything. We want to look at past pull tests. We want to look at what factor of safety you're working at. We also look at the wire log, which is also mandated by Appendix A that you submit a wire log with your break test request. It's a very important piece of documentation, and we look at it, we read it, we want to know what's going on with that wire. We also look at, how, if you're lubricating it, if any cutbacks have been done, and then we form a recommendation if warranted, and we upload that into the database. So basically you're forming a history in the database of what has happened with your wire. One thing I did kind of go over and I want to go back to is that your terminations are only as good, or your wire is only as good as your termination. So when we're testing your wire, I don't want my termination to fail. So I make sure that I have a termination that is going to last, and I want to test that wire. So don't get a false set of security if you see those break test results in the database. Your wire is only as good as your termination is. So we ask that if you want to know how good your termination is, when you're sending us a sample, send one end or both ends terminated. And that will give you the information you need, and we'll upload that in the database as well. That's it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Andrea Harvey.
Okey-dokey. Good morning. Let's see, what do? I press enter?
Just push the mouse button or trackpad. Should be lined up.
My name is Andrea Harvey, and I'm the Wirepool Database Administrator. Some of you probably are very familiar with this database. Many of you maybe haven't seen it or have yet to see it. I just want to go over some of its capabilities. Like Barbara and Rick said, it is the place to put all of the information and history about the tension members that you are working with. I want to say that these bullets here are designed to be functions that you can do as the user and the stewards of these cables and wires. You can do all of these things in this database. You can update the wire status. So if you have a tension member that needs to go into storage, you can mark it stored. If it goes onto use in the vessel, mark it in use. The cool thing about that feature is that only the tension members that are marked in use will show up in the safe working load section of the database. So it's not cluttered, it's pretty clean. You can kind of see a clear division of the tension members that are assigned to you or that you've inherited or purchased on your own that you can track in this database, and just sort of see a higher level view of the ones that are actually in use. So you can report events, lubrication, cutbacks, reterminations, splits, if you end for end the tension member. You can also upload documents such as wire logs, anything else that you think is important to share or keep record of these tension members. And like Barbara said, this is where you submit a break test request. You have to submit a test through the database and send us a sample so you're in the queue. And it's pretty straightforward, but it is a really great way to capture it. We know it's on the way, or we know that we already have the sample, that it's there, and we've got the two pieces we need to move on with the break. Other features are that you can request cable, like Rick mentioned. You can submit that request in the database and he'll get that notification. You can add a tension member if, like I said, if you purchase something or if your vessel inherited something, you can track it in this database as well. It does not have to necessarily be a tension member that was distributed by the wire pool, which is really nice. You can submit a disposal request that Rick will see and evaluate. You can add new users. So if there are people that come to your institution, new technicians that you want to have access to this database, you can have a read-only version, or you can have full access where that person is going in and submitting break test requests or doing any of these functions that I've listed above. It's user-centric. The goal is that this database is easy for you to use. You can do all of these things. We also put out a user's guide. I think it was 2020. It's pretty comprehensive. It is a great tool. It's on the database when you log in. I can also email it to you if you have any questions about it. If you're currently using this database and you want to talk to me about it, or if you have any ideas, questions, I'm happy to talk offline. And that's what I have to say about that. And like Rick promised, I'm the last one standing up here. So if you have any difficult questions, I guess I'm on the hook for that. Yes.
Sorry, this is a question maybe for Rick. You mentioned your terminations as your weakest point. You guys have standards on what you should do for test point after a 322 termination before we put in operation?
No. But that's a good point. You should think about what that engine could do. Also, what do other vessels typically do when they re-terminate the wire?
Well, we usually do 3,000 pounds for a couple of minutes. We usually have like 2 or 3 minute standard. We usually don't see that load. So go a little bit above what we can see normal CTD caps. But I just didn't know if you had a standard 322 wire, 3x8 standard.
Honestly, we do not. I think that probably your operations are typical of what most
Is it, I feel more, our termination, 4,000 pounds, 5 minutes. It also needs. 9/16 straw wire, 10,000 pounds, 5 minutes. That also needs to be seated. 681 depends on the use case. If it's a RVTEC with Jason or that, we have our own training. Full test, we have to do it. It's usually stay diagram. We'll pull that to 5.
So maybe, come up with guidelines or something. Because we're all stick to the same.
Okay, real quick, because everyone online missed that. Don Cucciara was asking if the wire pool had recommendations for terminations and pull tests after re-terminating the wire. Not specifically was, I think, the answer. Everybody will correct me if I'm wrong. And then Lance mentioned that they do 4,000 pounds for 5 minutes on 322. With what kind of termination did you say? A grip?
It's PMI.
The PMI grips. And 10,000 pounds for the 9/16 for 5 minutes with the, did you mention the grip?
That's a stage.
With the swage. And then you have a custom one for your 681. And I don't remember.
For ROV or a guy grip for non-custom stuff.
Okay, a guy grip for non-custom stuff and a custom one for ROV. Did I get that right? Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have more questions?
Yes, yes, because Lance asked one earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Lance asked about lubrication and how often it should be done.
Oh.
I think that that's a Rick question.
On
You
down.
have to come answer in front of the mic.
You're the next contestant.
So specifically, product recommendation and. like,
Over here. So the offline people too.
Ideal, I'm trying to get us to lubricate at the end of mission, every mission. So. like,
I did not put this man up to saying that. But
Repeat the question.
the question was, do we have a recommendation for the material to use for lubrication and the frequency of lubrication? Currently, the recommendation is once a year. And quite honestly, that is totally inadequate. It's not even worth doing. And I have been pushing delicately to see if we could get a vessel or 2 or 3 or all of them to think about lubricating much more frequently. But of course, this takes a lot of time. Lubrication, particularly if you are going to remove the entire tension member off of the ship and then lubricate it when it goes back on. It takes port time, it takes personnel, and it takes time, personnel,
Equipment.
and equipment, right? Some specialized equipment. Thank you. And so I've asked the Atlantic Explorer, and they were the first to offer after I asked them. They're willing to try to lubricate more frequently, but using at sea during ship ops. And you're on the right track, Lance. That's exactly what we need to do. I feel not take up time, not take up ship time, not take up dock time, but try to do it what I like to refer to on the fly, on the recovery. Once a mission would be great. At this point, I'd buy into anything that was more often than once a year. But we do need to increase it. As far as the material is concerned, we have been using OLLD2, which is a Grignard product. But they'll come right out and tell you that doing it once a month, that's the minimum frequency, that you need to do it more than that. But that's what we've been using once a year. It's not adequate, but if we can increase the frequency, I think it could be a good product. People like Oceaneering are using the same product at sea every third mission. And they have seen an improvement, or they have a lot of money tied up into big cables. So it's worth their while to lubricate these cables to maintain them. And they're doing it that frequently, and they're seeing good results in extending the life of the cable as a result. So you're on the right track, and I'd welcome anyone else who wants to give it a go to try the lubricated sea.
I was just gonna say what we're doing, the procedure currently is that we have just a paint roller in a bucket, and we're just sitting there at the drop painting. That's all we're doing. So but there's no like auto lubrication injector. We're just sitting there with a roller.
But as I recall, you've got a good setup for a, what do they call it? The core loop system. Because you've got that vertical, as I remember, you've got that vertical shaft coming down to your winch room. And that actually, when I was on board, I saw it's mounted there. It must have been mounted there for the looks, but that's a great place to do it. Turn it on the rehaul at the end of a cruise or whatever, however frequent you want to do it, and shut it off.
Brandy's got one, and there's one on Hoover.
Sorry, I'm on topic, so I want to stay here for a second. How much more life is Oceaneering getting with the frequent lubrication than we are with our cables?
I'm supposed to know that number. I don't recall it at this point, but I believe it's like double the life. It's a factor too.
Can we get the Hoover question?
Ooh, sorry.
Is there a particular reason why the e-kink test is not performed for 3x19 trawl wires? We use that method a lot for quick on-the-spot checks in the field for all wires, including 9/16. Just wanted to make sure I'm not putting false trust in those tests. From Brandon and Andrea.
Do you want, all right, Barbara, I'll answer that because I got the microphone. The e-kink test for 9/16 for any kind of wire rope, the nice thing about it is that anybody can do it anywhere. And we do it ourselves because we like to compare the e-kink results with the mandrel wrap test results. But it's something that gives you an indication. You can't rest everything on these e-kink tests, but it gives you an indication of the condition of the individual wires which make up your cable. The mandrel wrap test, we use it because that is the test that the manufacturer of the wire rope recommends we use. And so that's what they use, and we use it. And we would use that test when we receive a wire in, and if it failed our e-kink test, we would have grounds to return the cable to the manufacturer. So that is the reason why easy in the field to do e-kink. The mandrel wrap test requires mandrels of certain dimensions, and it's a bear to do. We had to make up our own special little gizmo to do it, and that's why we say that e-kink is okay.
It's another one. Oop, we got Ross.
Russ?
I was just gonna say, it's been a learning curve using the correlate applicator, but it really is a good system. The initial one we used was air driven. And that was super frustrating because it wasn't consistent. You get tons of it and then not a lot. And underneath the drum was a junk show. But the new system is electric drive, and you can really dial it in. And you can set that up. And the other aspect of it that we found really helpful is the air curtain. So it's drying that cable with an air curtain before it's drawing through. So you can do a rinse, and then as it comes to the applicator, the air curtain is drying it. And then you just
Can you summarize that, Rick?
So what Ross just mentioned was that they are having good results with the core loop lubricator, that the newer design is minimizing the waste that is dropping out of these things compared with older systems. The use of compressed air to dry the wire after it's been rinsed with fresh water is also a plus. So it's a basic endorsement of that use of that applicator.
First, I'll make a comment that dealing with like an over cable on deck, like a 52 cable. That's bullshit. That's just a comment. My question is, how soon do you expect wires to start failing tests and you downgrade the safe working order to keep it in service?
Repeat the question.
So the question is, how, the question, the question is, how long do the cables last before we start to downgrade them?
Yeah, they're gonna do cable, how long
Yeah.
before you start seeing better?
So, well, it all depends. There are many variables. And first off is how well the cable is taken care of. Is it on deck, above a higher deck, or is it below deck? Is it protected from the environment? Is it protected from the weather? What we do is if we see a break that occurs below the manufacturer's recommended braking strength, we will recommend to that vessel cut back and retest. And many times the cutback and the retest get you back into better wire, and it's above the manufacturer's braking strength. So, and the one thing that normally or often happens with these tension members is that we're cutting back, might have a little problem, got to cut back because of a hockle or whatever. And these tension members get too short before we have a failure. And so cutting back is our mechanism for trying to preserve the cable.
So then it's moving really necessary.
Well, yes, and that's the big question. And I posed this question to Jim because the question is whether are we just going to be having a bunch of short cables that are well lubricated? And I'll admit that's an issue that we have to think about. But I can guarantee you that you would probably, I shouldn't say guarantee, I would hope that by lubricating more often, we'd be cutting back less and they would last longer.
Take an observation. When I first saw a ship doing a freshwater wash, it was doing inspection. And then it was a manual system. And my suspicion was they turned it on for me. When I went to a ship that had an automatic system that as soon as you go to haul back, if there's enough water on board, it automatically started the freshwater wash. And those cables look great.
So Ted Coburn just mentioned that the automatic freshwater rinse, if the vessel has the water supply, makes a big difference and keeps the cable looking well. That operation alone is beneficial. We did, Barbara and I and others have been involved with a little test that we've done right in the at Woods Hole, dunking 322 cable samples every day for a couple of years, and except for the weekends. And we would lubricate half of those samples once a month. And it was quite a difference between those samples, between the batch that we just dunked and lubricated once a year versus the bunch that we lubricated once a month. Now, when we did it, we lubricated them right out of the water. The whole purpose was to try to see if we pull it right out of the water, run it through the lubricator, and then coil it up and dunk it tomorrow, what kind of result will we have versus pulling it out of the lubricator or pulling it out of the water and lubricating it once a year and coiling it up and dunking it again the next day. So we saw a difference. But to be honest, after several years, but we did this for about 2.5 years, Barbara. After about 2.5 years, well, let me first say, I'm not prepared to actually talk about this, but what we saw was that the braking strength of the cables that were lubricated once a year declined. After about 6 months, we started to see a decrease in the braking strength. Whereas we did not see that decrease, or we did not see the braking strength drop below the manufacturer's minimum for several years with the samples that we lubricated once a month. So we saw a benefit. We were doing this test to make it, just pull them out of the water, run through the lubricator. We didn't want to dry them. We didn't want to freshwater rinse them. We were trying to make this as crude as possible to simulate a situation where a vessel didn't have enough water to do the freshwater rinse. But it was beneficial.
There's one more question and then let's take our break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
I thought there was one more question back there. Okay,
That wasn't you.
Ethan.
How does freshwater rinsing get incorporated into this increased lubing? You want us to replace freshwater rinsing with lubing?
No, I would do it in addition. Add it, freshwater rinse and lubing. Yes.
Well, I think that's what Ross was saying about the new core lube, is it blows the water off when it puts the lubricant on the wire, right? Is that?
Yeah, it does, but Ethan's point is really good because that's a big train of stuff, right? So you're putting fresh water on it, and you're blowing the fresh water off, then you're putting your lube on it, then you're putting it through the level one, then you're putting it on the drum. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. So we have to choose. And so we're either freshwater rinsing on all that.
Well, you could
or
freshwater rinse.
And lubing on all that.
You don't need to do it all at the same time. You could do the freshwater rinse, at a certain frequency, and then lubricate at another frequency.
Exactly. So ideally, you're always freshwater rinsing when you're periodically on a deep cast. You're not freshwater rinsing, but you're doing your air curtain and then your lube onto the drum.
Yep. Good. Thank you.
Okay, one more.
I was just gonna add to that, on our shift, we do a freshwater rinse after like the night stops, just every day.
So daily rather than
Daily.
class-wise.
Yeah.
Okay, so the comment was that a vessel does a daily rinse once a day at the end of the cast, end of the day, freshwater rinse.
Really?
What does the comment? This is plug. So, we're gonna do a best practices update in the next session. And it sounds like this would be an exceptional document for the community to create on what those recommendations are. And this group has a ton of knowledge regarding that issue. So getting a group together to formulate something is really valuable.
Okay, that's Katie, and she's saying this is an excellent opportunity for the community to get together and to create a document that would have this kind of a best practice. On that note, I suggest we take our break and come back here at 11:45.